Hello again. So in the last lecture we have discussed some very important concepts related to the programming which are very useful for us to be deployed in the sessions when we will dive into the details of actual computer coding. So what were those steps which we have covered in our last section, and those were basically, the first one was the data type. Okay, and second one here was some operators. And what were those operators? Those operators were basically the assignment operator and equality operator. Okay, the assignment operator is represented by this single equal sign, while the equality operator is this double equal sign. While the data types we had were basically 2 or 3 data types which were some important stuff of different nature, servants, which are used to preserve some information. Okay, so these were some important stuffs in our last programming session. So what are we going to discuss today is again a very important concept, and grasping the concepts of this technique is also very important for all the computer programmers. So let us start a problem today. So what is the problem? Suppose there is a person who basically goes to another person which has basically a shop, okay, which is a fruit shop, and he has apples with him. So there is another person here, and this person came to him and asked him to give him 6 apples. Okay, so what will this shopkeeper do? He will say, okay, he will get some shopper from here or some box from here and try to pick the apples from this place and put it here. Okay, so what will he do? He will first pick one apple, then he will pick the second one, third one, fourth one, and he will continue this process until and unless he will put here 6 apples. Okay, and when he will put 6 apples, he will give it to the customer. Okay, so we have to write the program for this problem. So what will happen here? First of all, what we have to do, we have to write it in our own statements. So the first statement here is that for the shopkeeper, what he will do, he will get a box. Okay, he will put an apple in it to 3, count the number of apples. Every time he will put it, he will count them. 4, if the number of apples is less than 6, put more apples. Okay, and 5, if the number of apples is equal to 6, stop, and 6 is give box to the customer. Okay, and what is the last step here? When he will give it to the customer, the process will end here. So that is the algorithm which basically the shopkeeper follows in order to pack the 6 number of apples which a customer asked him to give. Okay, so these are the number of apples here. So now in order to portray it, let me use the concept of the flowchart again. So let me write flowchart here. So that is the start. Okay, after starting it, what will happen? He will. Okay, so a very important concept here. What I will do, I will use the data types here, and box data type in which he has to put the apples, I am going to represent it with the B. Okay, and similarly in his mind he has a counter, and I am going to write it like count. Okay, so that counter is initially set to 0. So these are basically two things. The first one is this box here, which is B, and the other one is this count here. So at the start, what will happen? B, he will put an apple. Okay, this is the assignment statement which I have used. So when he will put it here, I will use the statement count, and count is equal to the count plus 1. Okay, so after it, what will happen? Okay, so here if the count is less than 6, what will he do? If this will happen, what will he do? He will come here and put in B again 1 apple. Okay, so that is the statement here. So if count is less than 6, so yes. Okay, sorry. So if yes, he will come here and again he will put another apple into the box. Otherwise, if it is not less than 6, it means it is equal to 6. So what will happen at the end? Give to customer. Okay, he will give it to the customer, and after it the process will end. The same problem is happening here because of this, so it will end here. So that is basically the flow chart, which basically portray us the repetition of a process. Here this process of putting the apples inside the box B will be repeated 6 times until and unless the box which is B will be contained 6 apples. Okay, if it will contain 6 apples. So that is what this repetition is basically called, the loop. So in loop we have some important stuff. The first one here is the initialization, which we have done here, like count equal to 0. Here in initialization we have a counter to which this is like a stopwatch, and we have given it a starting value. After it, it has to check some condition. So what is the condition? So condition here is that the number of apples should be equal to the 6. If these are not 6, what will happen? There is the operation here, and that operation is basically the increment operation. Okay, so this increment operation is used in a counter. So count is all the time increased by 1, and unless and until it is equal to this to 6, this operation will be followed. So there are these three operations, 1, 2 and 3, and these three are basically the important characteristics of a loop. So this is the loop statement, and please get some task which is repeated like this one, and after going through that task, you are therefore expected to learn all the concepts which have been explained in this lecture. So that's it for today, in which we have discussed the concept of the loop here. So with some more stuff and some more practice examples, I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you so much.